Good afternoon. I'm Storm Team 2 meteorologist Brant Beckman, and we have snow across the low country, here, there, everywhere. Winter storm warnings are out there. The radar, quick check of it. It's snowing. It's actually asking, where is it not snowing at this point? Everyone's seen a little something, and we so appreciate your reports. It's moving in, lots of different moving parts. We are joined in the studio by Carolyn Murray and Rob Fowler. We are going to be breaking this down piece by piece from every perspective, and we're going to try and move forward here with a little less excitement, because it does not happen very often that you have the scenes that we're seeing out here across the low country.
Well, you have to think in terms of the last time we had back-to-back years with snow was January of 1988 and 89, and now January of 2025 and 26.
Yeah, it's really something. We're actually, look, we're showing beautiful pictures of not snow out there. Now we get in the 3-shot. So what we'd like to do is kind of highlight, it's starting to snow.
Yeah.
What can folks expect now that it's started? Where do we go from here, right? What are the next steps? And Carolyn, what are you hearing out there? What is your reaction to this?
It's similar to what Rob is describing, and we had a chance to see Rob's grandchildren, just the excitement of snow because we all suddenly become children. We had our colleagues running outside and we take pictures, and I think that's the initial reaction, right? We don't get to see this very often. It's novel, it's fun, it's nature, it's beautiful, makes nice pictures. So I think for the next few hours, certainly the next few minutes, we will just enjoy it as much as possible, share pictures and videos with each other and just kind of enjoy, and then start paying closer attention to what meteorologists and first responders and city leaders are telling us about being safe, staying off roads, how weather is impacting our ability to get around. But I know what, for the next few minutes, I'm going to enjoy this snow.
I love that you pointed this out, because if you have pictures, you have things you want to share, take your phone out, get that QR code. You can send it right to us. We'll share your pictures as well. We want everyone to be able to experience this together, and at the same time, taking it as seriously of an event as it is. As you were talking about first responders, the Department of Transportation, you're seeing the trucks moving up and down. We're no longer in a position of, is it going to happen? I'll see it when I believe
It's happening.
It's happening. It's here.
Definitely happening.
So things such as warming shelters, things of that nature, that's all being put on counton2.com, those updates. So Rob, Carolyn, if we get updates about a bridge closure or whatnot, is that something we're putting out right away? Are we confirming sources? How are we going about that?
Yeah, I think, it's important to get that information out. And again, like Carolyn mentioned, there's the fun side of this, but the serious side is that snow is moisture, and moisture is congregating on the roads, and temperatures are barely above freezing for most of us right now, but we'll go below freezing here as we head into the evening time. So this is going to refreeze. It's going to be some slick travel for folks out and about. And again, the radar scan shows that snow goes back pretty far. So a lot of the state has been in the snow most of the day. We have been kind of waiting and watching, and I had so many people say, I'm just looking out my window. Where is it, Rob? Well, here it is. And again, it's going to be around for a while. And there could be some banding where we get some heavier snow bands moving in. Just think in terms of when you have a complex of thunderstorms coming in along with a tropical system. It's hard to kind of pinpoint exactly who gets the heaviest bands of thunderstorms. Same situation here. Who gets the heaviest bands of the snowfall? But I think Brant and Carolyn, I think we're going to stick by our original forecast of, for most of us, some 2 to 4 inches of snow, and some areas to the north will pick up more, some areas to the south maybe a little bit less.
Yeah, Rob, I have that graphic for you. I'll let you speak to it a little bit more, because I think that's an important point. There's some high totals for Georgetown and Williamsburg County. I was trying to justify these totals to our audience this morning, thinking we have the moisture, we have the cold in place.
Yeah, you have to realize that when you're looking at these numbers, for other parts of the country, they may be saying, well, that's a Tuesday in Wisconsin, where I used to work many years ago. But for us, this is a big deal. And you realize the most snow we've ever seen in any one storm was December of 1989. We had 8 inches. So not saying we're going to get 8 inches, but when you go down incrementally in the top 10, you can even have some snowfall that rank in the top 10 that are only a couple of inches or so. So we're going to see this snowfall, we do believe, kind of work its way into the top 10 snowfall records here in the Charleston area. And keep in mind now, we keep records at an area, the National Weather Service, where it's quality controlled. I know someone may say, well, I had 8 inches at my house,
Right.
but we have to kind of keep it quality controlled, and it's hard to measure snow. Yeah, it's hard.
It's like, well, what do? You go out and put a ruler in the snow and you're done, right?
No, but you got to take many measurements. I know when I worked in Wisconsin, you take at least 10 measurements around your yard and then average it out, because you get snow drifts, and that's another problem we're going to have. We're going to have some gusty winds, so it's going to be hard to measure the snow. We're not talking about huge drifts, but I would say generally 2 to 4 inches is about where most of us are going to live by the time this is all said and done early tomorrow morning.
Now, last year, Carolyn, you remember last year you remember it's like a heavy wet snow, right? It was icy conditions. What do you remember about like the next 48 hours after that system came through?
That it just seemed like it was never going to end. We were completely unprepared for that. And for those of us who lived in other parts of the country where, you know, you have responders that are able to come in immediately, they have the equipment to clear roads, ice is not an issue. It was a big issue for us. It was difficult to get anywhere. In fact, we didn't. We ended up being holed up at a hotel right next door to News 2 for several days. Couldn't even really get food because, of course, there are no drivers, and we wanted to be careful and stay off the road. But once again, that was an anomaly, something we were unaccustomed to, but we learned a lot of lessons as a result of that. And so there is a great bit of relief this time that this weather is a little different for us, of course, the way you all have forecasted it, that this is a powdery snow that we probably, hopefully, will not see as intense icing conditions like we had before. But of course, you know, who has the last say is Mother Nature. And so we will deal with whatever we are dealt, and we will respond accordingly and keep people up to date. But you know, right now we are once again enjoying what we are getting, which is this light, fluffy snow. And perhaps, you know, I think most people are trying to stay off the roads. At least that's what we noticed when we were coming in. People had done a lot of the things that we've asked them to do, and that is prepare beforehand, things to make sure that their homes are safe and those kinds of things. And I also wanted to add that we are hearing from our community leaders, like City of Charleston. I heard from Deja Knight, who is the public relations representative for the City of Charleston, and she said that City of Charleston teams are out right now. They are spreading salt on roads and looking for people who are unhoused to take them to the shelter on Mary Street in downtown Charleston, actively looking for those people to make sure that they are safe and warm. And also, the Municipal Operations Center has been activated. That's in downtown Charleston at the Gilliard Center, and they are now working 12-hour shifts. I think we are working, 24-hour shifts, boys? Oh. So, you know, something like that. We're working whatever we need because, of course, you know, this is how we respond in these kinds of situations. So once again, I think we have everyone covered. We are in direct communication with our utility partners as well. We will speak with South Carolina Highway Trooper Nick Pye a little bit later. He's going to give us an overall view of how things look on area roads and highways right now. But again, the most important thing is be safe wherever you are. Stay inside. Take pictures, go outside for a quick second, then come back in and stay safe and warm. We got you covered. But again, this is what we've been predicting for several days now. No big surprise. And it is finally here. It's our snow day.
And you know, jumping off of that, from the snow to the cold, I think that's the next big story. We knew going into this weekend it was going to be a two-headed monster. We had the snow, and now we've got the cold, and we're seeing low wind chills tomorrow morning in the single digits, maybe even below zero, which happens very infrequently, very rare. But also when you get the air temperature in the teens, now we're talking about this is the time to drip the pipes. This is the time to open your cabinet doors. Let the warm air come on through. Make sure that outside you've wrapped those hoses to make sure if there's any water in there, it doesn't freeze and burst your pipes. So there's a lot of precautions that hopefully folks have taken going into this event. Yes, we get into the 20s, we get into the 30s, but when you start getting into the teens for long periods of time, what we call a hard freeze, Brant, you know that this is the time that you got to really take those precautions. And I can remember back in January 21st of 1985, I was working in Savannah. They got down to 3. That's their coldest temperature ever. The same morning that Charleston got to 6 and downtown got to 10, that's the coldest, but pipes were bursting everywhere. We're not talking about that cold. And also another point, when we say wind chill, that really just impacts people, doesn't impact inanimate objects. So it's like you can't say, well, the wind chill is 6, so that's the impact it's having on pipes. That's basically the wind chill is designed for how we feel, because winds take heat away from our body and make us even colder.
And what's
That's
really
such a good point, Rob.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's going to be interesting to see how things roll forward into tomorrow morning, just based upon the accumulations. You know, I had people asking me about road conditions. Well, am I going to be able to get where I need to go Sunday afternoon? Carolyn, you and I talked yesterday a little bit about Sunday afternoon. Are people going to be able to travel? Will there be melting taking place? And what I told you yesterday is, you know, if we're at that 2-inch mark, like forecasted, we might be okay. We may be able to get some clearing. If we're at the 4-inch mark, which is also forecasted, between 2 to 4 inches, that could be a big difference for tomorrow.
Yeah, we're going to get some sunshine, so that's going to be melting in the full sun. But those areas that are shaded don't get the sun, and I would say we're only going to get maybe a couple of hours, 3 or 4 hours above freezing. Most of the day, freezing or just above. And there's one thing that forecasting temperatures when you have a snowpack, that's a whole different story, because you know, air
What
comes.
does that mean, Rob, a snowpack?
So basically, when you have snow on the ground, which we don't really have that often, the air, as it moves over land underneath it can warm the air above it. But if you've got snowpack, you're going to reflect the sun. You're going to basically, that air is going to not be able to heat itself.
Yeah.
And so we may forecast a temperature of 35 or 36 coming up tomorrow. In reality, the actual air temperature may only get to 32 or 33. So the snowpack does have a definite impact on the forecast temperatures. And again, as Brant mentioned, if this is a 4-inch, 5-inch, 6-inch total accumulation, that's going to have a whole different really dynamic about forecasting your high temperature. And what that means for us is we won't get as much melting. And now you're talking about all of this kind of lasting into Monday. And I think I was looking at some of the temperature grids. We may not get above freezing on Monday until mid-morning on Monday.
And in fact, that I'm really glad you brought that up, you know, because Carolyn and I were also talking yesterday, you know, what am I wearing as I go out tomorrow? You know, what am I wearing as I go out
Right. Those
tomorrow?
practical kinds of things are what people are really concerned
Yeah.
about. Yeah. How do I live every single day, and how do I protect myself and protect my family and protect my pets and protect my property? So that's what people want to know, what they need to do. And Rob, you and I just had a very unique experience. I asked you before we walked outside.
It was the meteorologist
do I need a
making this
jacket?
call.
You know, I mean, talk about meteorologist, right? I mean, the man who wears that name so well.
Yeah.
And Rob said, no, we'll be fine. In just a few minutes, the temperature dropped, Rob said, about 2 to 3 degrees.
Yes.
But it was a noticeable difference, right?
When the precipitation started, basically that sucked the heat out of the air, and there wasn't much heat anyway. So, the temperature was 35 a few minutes before Carolyn and I went out, and I would venture to say it was right at freezing when we went out.
Yep.
So it was a bad call on my part to not wear a coat out the second time. First
many
time was
of those.
okay, second time not so much.
No, and it's a really good point, because as you walk out tomorrow morning, you know, Carolyn, we're looking at 13 degrees in King Street, and you're thinking, okay, well, 13 degrees, that sounds cold. It is cold.
Right.
You know, but that wind chill factor was something that we brought up as well. And anything that is not covering the extremities, the nose, the fingers, the toes, is going to be susceptible to frostbite tomorrow morning. Plain and simple. You don't have a proper hat, proper gloves. And I always said this because my grandmother always said this: get the ugly coat. You get the ugly coat out. It doesn't look good, but it keeps you warm. You're going to get that coat out.
Yeah, but you don't have to be fashionable.
You don't have to be
Whatever keeps you
fashionable in
warm.
this.
Yeah.
You know, it is going to be something where you don't want to mess around with it, because if you're not properly dressed, if you're not taking the proper precautions, that's where things can get dangerous.
Yeah. And we also want to, Brant, and pardon me, you know, just really commend those folks who are opening shelters. You know, they are taking time away from their family. Someone has to man those shelters. My niece does it every year, and it really is just something that we need to recognize. They give people a warm, safe place. You know, very often they allow them showers and things like that, and they feed them small meals, but just enough so that people are safe. And so we know that first responders are on the road, and we know that there are folks laying out salt and brine and those kinds of things. But for those churches and organizations that are manning those shelters. We want to say thank you very much for your service as well, and we recognize the sacrifices you are making for yourself to make sure that people are safe when we are dealing with these kinds of conditions that we're not accustomed to.
Yeah.
So again, thank you.
And also, Carolyn, congratulations and thanks to all those organizations who paid attention. I mean, so many things, unfortunately, had to be postponed or canceled. I know a lot of church services have taken note of this, that they don't want people on the roads. They don't want people to put themselves potentially in harm's way. So many cancellations. I hate that the Low Country Oyster Festival had to be canceled this year. It's such a great event, raises a lot of money, giving a lot of money to charities. But unfortunately, this year Mother Nature kind of won out, I guess, because it is going to be dangerously cold. Won't be snowing during the day tomorrow. It's probably going to be over by daybreak for most of us, if not all of us. But it's going to be cold, bitterly cold. And then, we'll jump right into the arena. I know when you're out and about, what are the questions that people ask you most often, especially the kids? Am I going to have school on Monday? And while we don't make those decisions are made by, people way above our pay grade who are more experienced in this. Yeah. But they're tough decisions. They really are. But let's look at Monday. If we get a bunch of snow and we still got a lot of the ice on the roads that hasn't melted yet, or anything that did melt refreezes, then you don't want to put buses and cars on the road. But again, not saying that schools some schools have gone to e-learning, but I don't think everybody's made that decision yet. But just know that those decisions are made with a lot of discussion, and they're not made, just simply by snapping your fingers. You have to put a lot of time and effort into these. I remember I had Anita Huggins, the superintendent of Charleston County Schools, on a podcast, and we talked about that. And that's a hard decision to make, because that the kids, need to be in school, but sometimes they don't want to be in school. Yeah. But and the teachers know that they don't want to miss too many school days, even though I think now, post-COVID, the e-learning thing is kind of,
it's changed it. Yeah.
It's changed it, because I remember years ago when I
Yeah.
had to tell the kids when they said, Mr. Fowler, we want a snow day. I said, just remember there's a makeup day in there somewhere,
Yeah. And I don't think they've actually had any, there've been any weather-related days or school cancellations this year. I don't think they've actually had any. I'm not sure. So
yeah, hurricane season was quiet, so I think they were able to skate by.
Yeah.
So we have folks, thank you everyone. They've been sending in storm reports and heavy snow in portions of Caldecott. They're reporting big flakes, heavy snow, accumulations. Thank you everyone who are continuing to send in those reports. We are looking at, there's people asking about the warming shelters, wanted to point that out. Carolyn was talking about that. And we have that on counton2.com, the list of shelters. And many of these shelters, and I was talking to Tim Renat about this because he's been on top of this as well. Some of these shelters are planning on actually staying open through the overnight because of those conditions. So we have a list of those warming shelters, counton2.com, and it's the list right here. I'm right on the website right now. It says when the warming shelter opens, offering overnight guest hot dinner, breakfast, and some of these places are even going to be staying open through the time period that will have impact. So, maybe the roads won't be open. You won't be able to get where you need to go. And so there's going to be a lot of these exceptions in place. As far as the forecast is concerned.
Yeah, Brant, if you could go back to the radar. I just want to explain something, because a lot of people are probably looking at the radar and saying, well, wait a second, it's snowing at my house, but there's nothing showing up. So let's explain this. The radar beam, you see that little line going around. That's where the radar is scanning from. It's in Grays, South Carolina.
Yeah.
And the radar beam goes out, and it bounces off precipitation, and it comes back. But snow is totally different than rain. It's a six-sided ice crystal, and basically the signal kind of bounces a little bit. So many times you may not get a true return. Because I know it's snowing here in Mount Pleasant, but it doesn't really look that way.
Oh, yeah, we have reports all I mean, look at these areas that it shows there's no snow. It is clearly snowing. I've got reports out west on Savannah Highway. I got out towards IOP, heavy snow out that direction. Monk's Corner doesn't show a whole lot of return, but right now there are people sending in reports saying it's snowing right now in these areas.
And that's why we have another product called the composite radar, and we show that a lot. And that's a composite of all the different radars together, and that fills in the blanks. So you see there, that would be a truer, more kind of picture of what is really going on
And
right
it gives
now.
the complete picture.
Yeah,
We like to see that. And that's the whole state.
Yeah, and I'm looking at this, and certainly not a meteorologist, but is there anyone in our viewing area right now that's not getting snow? It looks like it's really covering all of our viewers right now.
Ironically enough, the one area I don't think is getting snow, but is likely to see some of the heaviest impacts, Georgetown.
Yeah.
Georgetown is that last holdout out there all the way to the east. So that's going to be interesting. Delilah James is up that direction, and she's going to be reporting live from Georgetown a couple times as we get tonight into tomorrow and keeping us updated conditions. But note, she's not traveling tonight. She is staying in Georgetown.
So,
right?
Brant, can you expand on that picture a little bit? Let's go a little bit farther out. And what we can show you is how far this snow shield extends back to the west. So, again, you can kind of see there's a little circulation going on. That's that low pressure that we've been talking about.
Yeah.
So all of that stuff in Georgia is going to eventually hold together, and that's going to circulate into the Charleston area and then up the coast into the Grand Strand, including Georgetown County. So even though they may be seeing, a little bit of a break right now, maybe hasn't filled in, it will fill in. Same thing we had here. Remember, we were waiting and watching and looking out the window, where is it? And all of a sudden it was on top of us. So.
Yeah, and Delilah just sent a text, in fact, saying that she's seeing snow flurries on and off, but nothing consistent.
Yeah.
And then my sister, pardon me, in Savannah also just sent a video, and it is absolutely snowing there. So, we love when people tell us what's happening where they are. And of course, we remind people that they can send us videos safely. Of course, we want them to always be safe, to give us an idea of what's happening. It's a way that we are able to keep everyone informed in real time. So thank you very much for all those videos and pictures and images that people are sending in. It really does matter, because sometimes we think it's happening, or we don't understand the intensity of the weather at a particular moment, and this is the best way to do it. Just use the QR code that's on the screen right now, report it, send it, and we'll share it with our neighbors.
And if I could jump in here, I got to show you a video that I just got from my two grandsons. The toughest part about being a meteorologist is when your grandkids say, Papa, is it going to snow? And you don't want to disappoint the grandkids. So I just want to play this video. This is them.
There's some adults doing that too.
That was me and Carolyn a little while ago outside. So that's Roe and Reed, and they are excited. It is snowing. I think they're trying to do snow angels out. I'm getting texts and videos all over the place, but it's fun. I mean, this is all for the kids, but I know the adults love it too.
Yeah, we do.
So we're going to stay on top of the road conditions, everything going on in the Low Country. We know we got Department of Transportation people working hard this evening, trying to keep people warm, trying to keep the roads safe, and we're going to be tracking that through tonight, early tomorrow morning, and that's when we expect things to really start to get on the colder side as well. Rob, I wanted to point out some of these dry pockets that we're seeing in the system, and it's always possible to get stuff like this. But that is a brutal dry pocket up there towards North Carolina. We could see something like that similar setup here. We just have not seen that here. Everything has verified. Everything has verified so far, which is a little unusual, at least from my standpoint. You forecast something, it started on time. It's come through at the right ratio. The snow is hitting the right areas at the right time. I'm thinking, okay, what's coming around the corner here?
Hey, listen, forecasting winter weather is very difficult because you're looking at a degree here or there, moisture here or there, and it's very similar to forecasting hurricanes. Is it going to do this? Is it going to do that? The steering currents, where's this? Where's that?
No.
So there's a lot of moving parts that have to come into play. And in this case, everything came into really focus, a couple of days ago. We felt pretty confident about the forecast, and we threw out some numbers, and we talked about a scenario, and this is one time where it is certainly verifying, and you always like to get snow, but again, there's that serious side. But Brant, I got to tell you, you've done a great job keeping folks updated right here on WCBD Plus and also on Facebook. So we have many ways to get information out, and we encourage everybody to take advantage of that. And that's why we're here. We're here to inform and educate And that's our job. And as meteorologists, it's our job to make sure we put all the cards on the table and keep people safe. And just be careful out there, not just with potential slippery roads, but also the cold. Make sure if you do have to go out, you layer. I always kind of chuckle a little bit when someone will say it's 40 degrees in Charleston. They're like, it's so cold, and I look and they're wearing a windbreaker. You got to layer up a little bit and maybe put a little.
And probably shorts and flip-flops.
Yeah, well, that's true. Well, there are some people that wear
It's
flip-flops.
Charleston.
It doesn't matter what the weather is, but that's
Exactly.
Charleston.
Yeah, but and seriously speaking about that, we actually had deaths as a result of the winter weather last week. So certainly nothing to play about or be dismissive of. It's a real situation, and for a lot of people who are unhoused, this is critical for them that they find a place that's safe and warm. And again, something that we've already talked about, the city of Charleston actually going out looking for people who are unhoused and taking them to that Mary Street shelter. Again, we can't remind people enough that shelters are available, and many of them will be open until Monday because, as you both described, it's going to be cold for several days. Even when it's not snowing, it's going to be incredibly cold, conditions that we aren't accustomed to, and certainly don't have the kind of clothing unless people are layering to make sure that we are warm when we're outside.
Yeah, it's hard to look at that graphic that you just showed, the wind chill. I mean, you're talking about 0 to 10 and maybe even below 0, closer to 95. That is just unheard of here.
Yeah. So if you know someone, maybe you're sitting at home and you're saying, hey, this isn't a big deal. It's not that cold. The food wasn't a big deal. It may not be a big deal for you. Are you checking on your neighbors? Are you making sure they have what they need? Are you checking on your community? Because this can hit different people harder. And if you do run into a situation where, oh my gosh, this person's heat's out. It's below 55 degrees in the house. This is not an okay situation. We have a list of warming shelters on our website, counton2.com. when they're open and the resources that they are offering. We're going to have a one-stop shop for if anything like bridge closures, things of that nature, anything big that comes down the line, one way or another. Verified, sourced information will be on that website, one-stop shop, counton2.com. And we're all going to be here through this. We're going to be stacked through tomorrow and covering this wall to wall. This is a big deal. It's snow in the low country and not just a flake.
Mm-hmm. And also a reminder, though you've both described that this probably won't be an icing event, if someone were to lose power in their home, they might want to just know which shelters are available in case they have, a situation that's urgent and they actually have to seek additional shelter. Maybe they don't have a neighbor. So just being aware of the shelters that are open, just in case you might need to use one. And also there are some shelters that are allowing pets. We know that some of the local animal shelters have had to do a lot of maneuvering because they didn't have adequate spacing for animals, and so they've actually had to move some of the animals out. But that's something that you also, just an awareness of what's available in case you find yourself in a situation where you have to make an adjustment with your home and family.
And again, you're talking about, not the kind of ice that could cause a power outage, but I think with all the cold weather coming in, our heating systems are going to be taxed, they're going to be pushed to the limit. And I know we're so lucky to have so many wonderful electric companies, energy companies that they care about their customers and they do the best they can to keep everybody, with electricity, which runs the heater. So we just hope that everybody's heater is running and working properly, because it is going to be some pretty chilly nights. We're talking about record low temperatures in the upper teens, both Sunday morning and also Monday morning. And tomorrow, Sunday, we could set what's called a record low maximum, which means the coldest high temperature ever recorded on February 1st. And again, it doesn't happen that often when we're talking about temperatures this low.
Rob, can I quickly get you to speak to this future cast
Sure.
as we move forward here? Noticing that so far it is verified quite well. As we get towards 5 o'clock, does this look like something that is a reality? Is it painting a correct picture? In my opinion, it's done pretty well so far.
Yeah, it really has. If you look at the live radar, which we just showed a couple of minutes ago, that verifies. So here it is coming up on 4:30. It is 4:30, and I think if you look at the snow shield all the way back to the west, 7 o'clock, yes, we're still going to have some snow. And again, it goes way back all the way to Atlanta and even north and west of Atlanta, heading into northern portions of Alabama. And that upper level low, as it travels into the ocean and kind of reforms that low off the coast, then a lot of this moisture is going to be pulled with it. So I think everything verifies. I really feel like our Vipercast has done a great job. This is a high-resolution model that we use, and once we get within a couple of days, it really gives us more fine-tuning details on exactly what may happen. There's 11 o'clock. That certainly could verify as well. Maybe some holes opening up. And then we start to see the back edge of that clear by early in the morning on Sunday. So there's 2 a.m. We'll stop it there. And then I think still there'll be some snowflakes around for some of us around daybreak, but that would really be where Delilah is up in Georgetown. They'll be the last ones to say goodbye to the snow. And then after that, unfortunately, we got to deal with what's left over, and that is some very cold temperatures, low wind chills.
I wanted to give a shout out to folks like Wendy and Victoria. It's snowing in Green Pond. You guys, it's snowing at IOP. You know, they're.
I guess Green Pond is a white pond now. So
White pond.
Yes,
Good
so the
one.
white pond.
That it is. It is the reports coming in. Sullivan's Island has been snowing consistently for
I
a
love
good
that.
hour, sometimes heavy, sometimes light, but it is consistently snowing at the beach. Accumulations are starting on the sand.
And you said Sullivan's Island.
Sullivan's
We're
Island.
talking about the beach communities, which see snow a lot less than even the areas inland. But you bring up a great point, Brant. I mean, thank you to all of our wonderful viewers and listeners who, we couldn't do it without you. You guys are our eyes and ears out there. So when you say something is going on, that helps us because we can relay that information to other folks down the road. Say, hey, guys, it's coming. And I think all of us, by seeing those first reports of snow out towards 95, saying, okay, here we go. The game is about to begin.
It gives you confidence. It just from a reporter standpoint, getting confirmation on the ground that something is happening, that ground truth is just, it's everything. So we appreciate you for that. And I wanted to maybe wrap things up here, but I wanted to send my thank you to both of you. You are extremely busy as we're going into
Is
this
something going on?
Nothing more important
Something
than
going
this
on?
right now, for sure.
Yeah.
You know, and again, this is what community is all about. We love doing this. We are all very passionate about our work. But, we are no more important than anyone else involved in all of this. We just have more information at our access, but feel really fortunate to be able to share it with people. But we rely on people as much as they rely on us. They give us information, and we can just kind of put it all together and share it with a big audience of people. So we love having this platform so that we can get more information out to people. But we remind them that we will be going live again at 6 and 7 o'clock, and we'll be back in our WCBD Plus studio as needed to get more information out. But the bottom line is share information so that we can make sure that everyone is safe.
Yeah, great point, Carolyn. I know a lot of people ask me, what's it like being on TV? It must be cool. And I said, you know what? My job is no more important than anybody else's job. People just get to see what we do every day. I wish we had a camera in a classroom to see your wonderful teachers. I wish we had cameras on the roads to see those folks out there working in this cold weather and hot weather at times. So thanks to you guys for paying attention and for listening and watching and heeding the warnings that we try to give out each and every time we have a weather emergency.
On that soapbox, when we're putting out a forecast, we know that you are making plans, you are moving kids around, you are spending time, money, resources, cancellations. We know when we put out a big forecast like this that it affects people, and we take that responsibility and accountability seriously. So we appreciate you trusting us with that forecast. And so far, it has verified in a big way. We're going to continue to track that. Rob, Carolyn, thank you so much for your time. We're going to move forward with this, and we're going to get more of those snow reports coming in. Keep those snow reports.
Keep them coming. We'll see you on News 2 at 6 and 7, too.
See you there.